Good evening, family. Thank you for tuning in to the Two Mics Up Show. It's your man Dame D NYDC coming to you live from the DMV. Let me introduce our featured guest co-host, Alisa Middleton. Lisa, go ahead and let everybody know a little about yourself.
Hey, everybody. Glad to be here. Hey, Dane. Thanks for inviting me for your co-host. I'm so excited. I'm an activist here in the local Stafford, Virginia area, and I am extremely proud, Dave, to have this platform to inform the people of what is going on. And I understand we have a featured guest today that we're happy to have to tell us some information from the ground. Go ahead, Dave.
We have Bernard joining us live from Minnesota. Bernard has been active and on the ground with the unfortunate murder and slaying of, our brother George Floyd. May he rest in peace. And Bernard has been kind enough to join us tonight to share, the events that kind of took place, kind of from start to finish. And we want to go ahead and share that information with everybody. So, Bernard, go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone and give a little information about yourself and let us know, from your perspective, what took place there in Minnesota.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Bernard Turner. Most people call me BLT. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and I moved to Minnesota 32 years ago to attend college. My undergrad is in music and theater, and I earned my MBA last year in 2019. My heart is heavy at this time. The event that has happened here in Minneapolis this past week is tragic, sad, and terrifying. I believe that the government should pay for the counseling of our post-traumatic stress because the riots, as well as the undue brainwashing of our communities that we've suffered for many years through systematic racism. This has been horrible. First, we had the virus that had us locked up, and we were commanded to stay indoors by our local government for 3 months. And just when we opened, we have this tragic murder. This horrible event died in such a horrible way. And with thought destruction in this community, seeing many of my friends lose their businesses, regardless of the fact that they may have had insurance, it's still a massive loss. They already suffered for 3 months from the virus. There's so much loss that is sickening and it's sad. God has blessed me with the ability to see things for what they are. From the first moment I got to that rally a week ago today, on Tuesday, I knew something was wrong. The energy was off. I'm an intuitive person and I can feel energy. At that rally that night, something was very wrong. I saw so many things that didn't make sense and it scared me. I started going live on Facebook because I wanted our community not to take the fall for something that someone else was doing. I tried convincing people in our community that it's not Black people that are setting these fires and inciting the looting. Now, let me just say, I know a lot of people in Minnesota. I go to a lot of events, and I spend a lot of time when I'm at these events speaking to people. I can't take a step without running into someone that I know. One of our biggest events in Minnesota is called the Minnesota State Fair. There's 1 million people that attend that event daily. And whenever I go sometimes 3 or 4 times, I keep running into people that I know. At this rally on day 1, there were so many white people. I barely knew anybody. I may have known 4 or 5 people, but there were thousands of people at this event, which was weird. Things were not adding up. Now, let me give you a little background about how I know George. George and I met 2 years ago at an event. There was a big event, and I was asked to hold the money. And every time the money got to a certain point, I would have to collect the money. So I was given a security person to be with me. That person was George. George and I was together from 2 p.m. to 4 a.m. I got a chance to sit and talk to him and get to know him. He was mild-mannered. He's tall, and he's big, and he was a gentle soul. We talked about everything from his childhood to his children, to his daughter, why he came to Minnesota. And I got to know him very well, and he was a very, very nice guy. When I heard what they said he did, my first thought was, this ain't right. Something is not right about that, because he's not that. I mean, he's working on his life. And forever, we will be changed because of this murder. This man is going to go down in history around the globe for making the change of what's about to happen to us in the policing world and in our government. Now, moving forward today, Minneapolis has gotten themselves back. They're working their way back. Immediately after all the, I mean, y'all won't believe the stuff that they tore up around the city. They tore it up and it's gone. And people immediately came out. Now, this is Minnesota. This is Minnesota, where people came out to clean out buildings, clean out the debris. There are endless places around this city that has food, like miles of food, because they destroyed every grocery store in the neighborhood. There is no banks in the neighborhood. There is no regular convenience stores in the neighborhood. There's no gas station. I literally have to drive 5 miles just to go get a cup of coffee in the morning. Okay? Because it's all gone. Now, there's so many things that I want to talk about what I saw that night that scared me to my core. But I'm going to wait and use that for a different podcast time. What I want to use this time with is to talk about the white elephant that's in the room. Things that people are not addressing. It's so obvious, but I don't understand why people are not talking about it. Things that I think that people thought and they blew it off because they don't know who to ask, or they don't know where to bring these questions, but they got to be on the table. And we've got to look at these white elephants and talk about it.
Okay, so let's be specific. Which elephants are you actually referring to?
I'm going to bring them all up right now.
Okay.
I'm going to bring them up as food for thought. I don't have the answers. I've got my answers up here, but they're so deep right now that I've lost the point that my friend has passed away. I've not had a chance to grieve. Okay? And what you don't understand is there was another person that died that night, the night before. That was a client of mine.
Wow.
He had just graduated from our program and got shot in the streets. So there's 2 funerals that I've got to attend. Okay? And I've decided I'm not going to tomorrow's vigil because this plane is going to have Obama's coming. And Al Sharpton is coming. I don't want to be there. On Friday I'm not going because Trump is coming. So it's like all these celebrity people are coming and it's going to be overshadowed for celebrity. And we're going to talk about what I believe in a minute about the white elephant.
Yeah, please do. Go right ahead.
So one of the white elephants that I thought got solved today, because I wonder where the other 2 police officers, there were 4 police officers, we only see 2 of them the whole time when he's getting choked out. The question is, where were the other 2? Why are there no pictures of the other 2 police officers that were missing? We never saw pictures of them. So now it got revealed today when George's family didn't get just 1 second. I mean, there's been 3 coroner reports. They got 2 special ones and 1 that came out of Minnesota. Not until the coroner report of the other 2 said that he died of asphyxiation and that his hands were bounded and that his legs were being held down.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the pictures emerged. Behind the police car, they're holding him down.
Mm-hmm.
We would never have seen that or known that if these other coroner's reports did not get released. Right. So that was one of my white elephants. But I'm going to say the Democrat Governor Walz had appointed Hennepin County's attorney Mike Freeman, who concluded, and he always, as long as I've been in Minnesota, he always concluded on the side of the police officers.
Mm-hmm.
And this time he came up with a bogus report. And the world was watching, and the world did not buy it. Mm-hmm. The family got not 1 but 2 coroner's report that said that George was murdered.
Yep.
So now, Governor Walz is planning on doing a special investigation of the Minneapolis Police Department, stringing back 10 years. But my thing is, it's not their decision to say how many years going back. The community should say, no, we want you to go back 20 to 30 years.
Right.
Can you imagine how many people would be found out that they went to jail for the bogus, littlest, stupidest thing if we go back 20, 30 years? But let me talk about Amy Klobuchar. Amy Klobuchar made it her business today to get out there and discuss who is going to jail. So she said that the other 3 police officers will be indicted. Let me tell you what the problem that is. Amy Klobuchar hasn't done anything in the Black community for as long as she has been the district attorney, as long as she's been a senator. We ain't heard from her.
Okay, and
she was dead silent last week.
And that's
now all of a sudden you got something you want to say.
Well, that's why I just kind of give a background, if you could, for everybody, because we're, those of us here, I know some may be familiar with her on a national level for her recent run at the presidency. But if you could just spend a minute right there.
And some people, because she was running for president, but she was our district attorney, and she was the district attorney, and she was the, I'm sorry, I drew a blank. But she did nothing for us. She overseen a lot of cases. The biggest one that got her to step down from being running for presidency is that she put a 17-year-old in jail because they claimed that there was a little girl doing her homework here in North Minneapolis, not far from here. She was doing her homework, and a gunshot went through the window and killed her.
Wow.
And she was like 6 or 7 years old. And they found someone, and they put him, the 17-year-old, in jail for life.
Wow. With
no real proof that he did it. Well, they have since found that it's not possible for them to have done it. That's why they were calling for her to step her butt down, and she did. Okay. So that tells you something.
Okay.
So if we go back 20 to 30 years, we're going to see a lot of cases that she oversaw. Mm-hmm. This is why all of a sudden now she's concerned, and she wants to be a face in our community.
Wow. That's amazing.
So we have got to stand up and say, no, you don't get to pick how many years back, because there's going to be a reason why they're only going 10 years. Mm-hmm. This is our platform right now. We have the platform. We need to use it. Mm-hmm. This will show that there's been many years of police corruption. And then, just imagine how many people would get out of jail if this was to be, we go back, not just another elephant in the room. Why all of a sudden has Mayor Fry showed up at the vigil? Where have we haven't seen you there at all while all this pain has happened? Where have you been? Why all of a sudden you show up? It's interesting because the DA, Keith Ellison, has upgraded the charges to second degree, which Derek can now face up to 25 and a half years, or the latter, which calls in 12 and a half years. Mm-hmm. They got busted. So now all of a sudden, all these people who've done all this dirty stuff in all these years are now coming forward, and now they're going to be in the community. Interesting. Mm-hmm. Another white elephant. Where are the other 2 passengers that were in that vehicle with George? Why no one has mentioned them? No one's discussed them. They haven't been seen, nor have we seen them at the vigil, and no one's talked about it.
So
we know they existed.
I was just going to say, because some of us here may not have known that, and I don't recall seeing video of it. So can you expound on that?
Yes. So when they confront George at the car, the other police officer went to the passenger side and pulled the other 2 guys out. When you look at the video, you see the police officer walking George towards the store. The other police officer is talking to the other gentleman. I didn't even know there was another guy. Wow. And those are the things that I'm talking about, that we've gotten so conditioned that we don't see anything. All we see is George. We don't see what's going on in the background. Okay? That said, to me, it's obvious, but for a lot of us, we don't see these things. Okay? Another white elephant. The gentleman who called the police is extremely apologetic. He wished that he never called the police. He's even said that the $20 bill wasn't even fake. Now, a lot of people in our community has jumped to conclusions about this crime. This is why I described his character, because I never, ever felt that this man did a crime. But I got a question for each and every one of you. How many of you, when you go to the store, pull out your counterfeit pen when someone hands you your 20, any of those 20, and make sure that they're real? No one does. What we do, we stick it in our pocket.
Right.
And then we go to the next venue and we pay our bills.
Right.
And that's probably what he did. And he probably, if he had a fake $20 bill in his pocket, he didn't know that he had it. Just like many of us won't know that we have one until it comes up.
So true. So true.
Another white elephant in the room. If all of this wasn't pre-planned, why do so many people know that white people came to Minnesota by the busload and by air the week before? Why ain't anyone talking about that? Now, we've talked about it. We've heard it. People said that they've seen it. But why are we not talking about where did they come from and why were they here if it wasn't pre-planned?
You know, you bring up a good point, because that's like many other cities here where we're starting to notice and realize they're coming by the busloads. They're coming out they're coming out like roaches.
Correct. I just got to say that trying to have this conversation with the community has caused me such stress and strife that I've decided I need to take a break. This is why I don't want to bring up all these things, because I haven't even grieved my friend's death yet. I have not dealt with the white people driving up and down outside my window with guns shooting and yelling, "Get out, nigger, get out, nigger." I've not dealt with that. I haven't processed that because I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, okay? I moved to Minnesota. I ain't never experienced such hatred.
Wow.
It's traumatizing. I didn't sleep for a whole week. I only ate goat cheese and crackers because I was scared to move around in my apartment. If you don't believe me that I lost my mind last Saturday, ask my cousin how many times, my sister and my cousin, I text them and kept telling them all these crazy things because I was losing my mind.
Wow.
I was terrified.
Jeez.
And that's what they wanted. And they got that out of me.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Thank you.
It was breaking my heart, man.
It was horrible.
Jesus.
It was horrible. And then to go out and see your community demolished and gone. Wow. People don't understand what's tragedy for me is that I videotaped a bunch of stuff. I saw a lot of what all the stuff that no one wants to talk about, that everyone want to blame black folks, but I was talking and videotaping this stuff. Why is my stuff gone? The stuff in my cell phone, gone. That's when I got scared, because Minnesota can't do that. That's bigger and greater than you think it is.
You tell it, man.
Now, do I have an answer to that? I do, but I ain't doing it at this podcast. I'm going to make you want some more.
Wow, man, that's crazy.
Here's my final white elephant into the room. Sunday, the Democratic Governor Walz sent the National Guards home. He sent them home on Sunday night. Now, just think, Sunday is when that truck just ran
over
across
everybody, right? Yeah, on a highway, right? Yeah.
Correct. So now you're telling me that you're about to send these people home. People, you found all those abandoned cars with no license plates all over the city. They found bottles of gasoline all over the city, but you're going to send the National Guards home, and your words are tomorrow is going to be a better day. You shortened curfew from, it was at 8 o'clock to 6 a.m. Now you changed it to 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. for just 2 days. My question is, how did you know that tomorrow was going to be a better day and that we were not going to have any more issues? But my first thought was, are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? Because how do you know that these people are gone?
Exactly. That's a very valid point.
White elephant in the room. So here's how I'm going to end this. There's so many questions, so many things that don't add up, so many things that don't make sense, that there's so many damn elephants in the room that I can't breathe.
Wow. George.
Thank you.
Man, thank you. That was powerful, man. And
thank you,
thank you so much, just for taking the time to share that. I hear you in your pain, because we all, on some levels, are feeling the same thing. That sense of being trapped, cornered. And one of the reasons why I really wanted to do this after speaking with you, last week, it was therapeutic for me to hear someone else, and you're there. And we're watching this at home, my wife and I, and it made it very difficult. But it was therapeutic to hear, and I needed that. And I hope that you take care of yourself and you remain safe. And I'm not a therapist, but if there's anything that we can do, just talking or
I appreciate that.
Whatever, man. We're here, and we have to do this for each other. And I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Bernard. Thank you for being so open and honest from the beginning. Thank you for sharing everything that you have shared over the week. And yes, I can attest to you texting me and calling me and telling me what is going on in your area. I can also attest to the fact that you were telling us that this is not Minnesotian. Something is going on. And through diligence of the millennials, they were actually proving your point. So I think you're being open and honest. I want you to take care of yourself. I want you to grieve your friend, and you take care of yourself mentally and physically. And we're always here to pick up that where you left off. And whenever you're ready, okay? We love you.
Yes, I love you.
Yes, sir.
I love you.
Appreciate you, Bernard.
Great, guys. I greatly appreciate you. Thank you so much. Right. And I love to talk about the next phase, the next step, about what I saw, because it's bigger than you think it is. So it will put perspective in your cities of what's going on. And I've done some major research, and I've talked to a lot of people, and there's a specific reason why I keep saying the word Democrat.
Well,
it's very important that we know that.
You and I think the last time we talked, we touched on a few points, and I would love, when you're ready, to have you come back, and let's go into a part 2 about that, and let's share that with the information and the knowledge you've obtained, and let's share it with everybody else. So,
yes, I agree.
And we'll schedule a part 2 to this in the near
Excellent.
future.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bernard.
Thank you.
All right, man.
Thank you. You guys be safe. Say a prayer for the world.
Yes, sir. We will. We're going to say a prayer for you too, man. Love you.
Thank you. Love you guys.
All right.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Ooh, that was powerful.
Lee, say it again. Your story, and the events that have taken place over this last weekend, are just as moving as well. And please go ahead and share with everybody, what the events that took place with you over the weekend.
Sure, no problem. I do want to just piggyback a little bit off of Bernard to say that the inciting people are real. I think that the inciting by the police and the inciting by the paid members with another vested interest in seeing unrest is real. The looting and the fires and things like that are not being set by true protesters has played into the fact that it gives law enforcement the undue and unjust right in their mind to shoot at peaceful protests, to agitate those type of events. So I think that what we're having here is two things go on. We are having protesters, but then we are having rioters and looters, which are two different things. And in the law enforcement eyes, they are clumping those things into one, as usual, not to be unexpected, but we have to stand up against that because we won't be silent. You will not silence us from peaceful protest because you want to lump every protest in together. We will continue to protest until we see justice. This is just the beginning.
Okay. All right.
And so with that being said, we did have a peaceful protest down in Stafford, Virginia. It was a rally more say in the beginning. There were several speakers. There were officials there from the school board of Stafford County and the sheriff of Stafford County. Decatur, he was there as well. And it was more or less everyone speaking their truths on what we need to do as a community to bridge gaps. So we thought the protest went well and it was peaceful. Now, we had some young kids who wanted to march, so because that wasn't a part of the beginning. We just kind of rolled up on this protest. We didn't know who organized it or, who put this together.
So this was after you guys had started? Like, because kind of give a time frame. Like, what time was this? About 1, 2 o'clock when you started?
This was 1 p.m. Yeah,
okay,
this was 1 in the afternoon on Sunday.
Okay.
So we heard about it. So, of course, activists and leaders went over to support because we are here locally. So if there's any protest that's going on and it's in our vested interest, of course, we're going to go and support. So when we got there, there was no real leadership there. It wasn't really an organization, but people showed up, which was good. And like I said, the local leaders were there. So it was a peaceful protest far as a rally because there was no marching in the beginning. It was more like speeches and people talking, and we're saying, arrest the police. And people are also pointing out the flaws of Stafford County, saying that they have a lot to a lot of work to do because historically Stafford County is embedded in racism.
Okay.
So that was being said. So the sheriff assured that he would assist and this kind of thing wouldn't happen. And he knows that there are things that, Stafford has to work on and he's on board. So the children, and when I say children, let me just say this. I'm talking a group of anywhere from 15-year-olds to about 22 year olds.
Okay.
So it was a group of maybe about 50, and they were walking around for hours, just protesting and getting out, exercising their right, and they were chanting. They were just going throughout Stafford, and they decided. I would say so maybe about 2 hours later, they were still walking. So I want to say maybe about 3 or so, they decided to lock arms and go across 610, and they were chanting.
Okay.
So they were met with the full force of Stafford County. The full force of Stafford County. And when I say full force, I am talking snipers on the roof. And again, I'm going to say children.
It's crazy when you hear that.
Yeah, snipers on the roof. There was a tank brought out. The SWAT team was brought out. K9 unit was brought out. And it was overzealous and it was excessive. So, what to my assessment, because there was, when the police approached the protesters, there was some back and forth from the children.
Okay.
They were yelling, hands up, no justice, no peace. The police was saying, you have to move out the road. As they were going to disperse, there was a back and forth with 2 or 3 of the young protesters, and the police threw pepper spray in one of the children's, and then another young man who had the opportunity of talking to his mother said that because his brother was trying to help a friend who was African American, and I'm talking about 2 white kids that were saying that they were trying to help their friend. So when this little scuffle happened, and you have to realize we're talking about a scuffle because we're talking grown men in full riot gear with assault rifles, unarmed teenagers.
That's crazy.
So the brother threw the water bottle, a plastic 16-ounce water bottle, empty. barely empty. Their water did splash,
Okay.
and that's when the pepper spray came and the whole big unnecessary shenanigans happened. Now, here's what I think. I think that Stafford County missed a good opportunity to bridge a gap.
I agree.
I think they missed a good opportunity to show the community that they are not a part of this systematic racism. Instead, what they did was affirm that they are definitely embedded, and we got a lot of work to do because it was overzealous. So I think they expected looters, and they expected rioters, and they expected the things that they see on TV, like in inner cities, like say like a Baltimore or New York City, and things like that. When you're talking small town USA, these children are your neighbors. These children are your kids, classmates. These are children of the community. So you were overzealous in thinking that what you saw on TV was going to happen here, because to me, and I'm not going to put anything in their mouth or their brain, but what it looked like, in my opinion, is that you were itching for something to happen like that level, so you can use your toys that you have stored.
That's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah. So I was disappointed. I was disappointed to the fact that I was in the middle of that. I was disappointed to the fact that I paid tax dollars here in Stafford County, and I was more disappointed in the fact that only 2 to 3 hours earlier you stood by and said that you would bridge communities, and I cannot bridge the gap between our communities and the police, and I just simply cannot believe you, because I know that they cannot pull a tank out without your authorization. So to do better, we are still offering an olive branch, because we all have to coexist. So we're still offering an olive branch to Stafford County to go ahead and hold town halls. I mean, some other organizations are doing that, where they're holding town halls with Stafford County, and that is fine. For me, a resident, a long-time resident of 23 years of Stafford County, I need to see something tangible. I need to see what is your disciplinary policies there. How do you handle complaints? Do we have an advisory, or are you willing to have an advisory board to oversee things like that? So the town halls are great. Don't get me wrong. This opens up the dialogue of communication. But what is your willingness to actually act on these tangibles that we will put in place?
Yeah, those were excellent points. And it just blows my mind listening. In such a short span of time, you go from one extreme to the next, and as you so eloquently stated, they telling you that we're going to bridge a gap, but next thing you know, like you say, you got snipers on the building and tanks on the ground.
Tanks on the ground, bro.
And that's crazy.
And listen, don't get me wrong. I am not condoning these children from stopping the traffic, and I'm definitely not condoning throwing anything at the police. But what I'm trying to say is the reaction of these kids was excessive. So you reacted to a water bottle being thrown at a grown man and a bulletproof vest and heavy artillery. We have to do better.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, that's evident. I mean, that, like you said, clearly a teachable moment. You would expect a grown man who's trained in diffusing situations. He could have used his training on, that's a clear example to use your training and diffusing the situation with a young man and make it a teachable moment for that young man. And like you said, they totally went 0 to 1,000 for no reason. So I mean, that's just nuts.
That is nuts. And that is firsthand what we're seeing across the country. We're seeing peaceful march being agitated by the police. We're seeing peaceful marches being infiltrated by other sources who are causing agitation. So not only are we fighting for justice, we're fighting for the right to protest peacefully. And I just feel like one of my statements that I did say that night was, you're asking us to be peaceful And we would like you to do what you're asking. Because if you're asking us to be peaceful, you need to do the same. You asking us to do better, you should do better.
Yo, you in my head on that one because that's the truth. That's the God's honest truth. You got to give to get. Respect is earned, and the same things like you said they're asking us to do. That reflection, and we should be giving back to us, and we should be getting that from them.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to be done locally. There's great people here in Stafford County. They have organized. We are organizing. We're mobilizing. I feel like we can't. We have to protest. We have to keep the pressure on, but we also have to act. We have to put action behind there, and that's what we're doing here in Stafford County. We are mobilizing, strategizing, and organizing because enough is enough.
Okay. Woo. All right. That kind of says it all. You know, we're going to entitle this episode "Enough." Just on that end statement because that that encompasses everything we need to know about. I think what all of us are feeling right now.
Right.
Man, there any other thoughts or feelings or anything else you want to share?
I do. I just want to say that I hope that we lift up the families that are still going through things, and Breonna Taylor,
Mm-hmm.
Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery's family, and others. I hope that we don't lose them in our fight for justice, and try to keep them in our hearts and be diligent in helping the attorneys out. If they need volunteers for petitions or to make phone calls. So I think we're going to urge people to go ahead and start following the attorneys so that after the lights turn off, because one thing that broke me was when Eric Gardner's mom was speaking in an interview, and she said that when the lights and the cameras were off, it was just her. And we cannot, as a people, we have things to do as well in house. So that we cannot leave these families. It's going to be a long time before trial. It's going to be an uphill battle, but we need to make sure that we stay connected with the attorneys and the grassroots projects that are going on to assist these families so that when it's time, we're here and we're there for them. We don't ever want them to feel that once the cameras are gone that they're alone, and that really struck me. So I have the Ben Crump is the attorneys for mostly everyone at this point. So his social media is Ben Crump Law. I also have Lee Merritt. Lee Merritt is the co-counsel, and he is Lee Merritt ESQ on all social media. And Lee Merritt is also the one of the founders of the Grassroots Law Project. So if you listeners are out there and you go to these websites, you can sign up, and that way it can keep everybody informed of the news. We cannot depend on the media to spin their story. We have to take control of our narrative.
I appreciate that, Lisa. And for those, I don't want to come across offensive. I just want to harp on, these are two brothers that are, like you said, they're at the forefront and they basically have every injustice case against people of color, black people in America. Like the two of them they're the forefront of everything.
Yes, they are.
And I just wanted to share that for those, I don't, like I said, I don't want to be offensive, but I know a lot of us may not be in the news or in the know that much, but I just want to put it out there, so that we all are aware. And thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
At this moment, a lot of times what I do, I like to share a thought or a word, and I'm just going to piggyback off of what you said and ending off on enough. And I'm just going to jump in and say, at this time, with everything going on, we need to try to work on learning to love without condition. As bad as everything is, let's not talk to each other with bad intention. Give without any reason, and most of all, care for people without any expectation. I think right now we are all in need of some unconditional love, some someone to hug, someone to hold, someone to talk to, because we all just had enough, and we need that outlet. I'm hoping that we can use this platform to be that outlet, and I just want everybody to try to move to in your space or in your place when you can find a moment, pick up the phone, call, check on somebody, tell them that you love them, tell them that you miss them, tell them that you're thinking about them, and I'm pretty sure they would love to go ahead and say that to you in return, and I think we need that right now. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Uh, right now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pass it over to you, Lisa. Anything else we need to talk about? We have any sponsors or anything we want to talk about while we're sitting here?
Well, bro, you know me and you could talk forever, so we're gonna go ahead. Don't throw it back to me because we can talk forever.
You dribbling. Go ahead.
Right, but I just want to shout out the Stafford County groups that are actually on the ground and they are mobilizing right now. They are active. They showed up at the school at the board of supervisors meetings, and they are having town calls. Like I said, keeping the dialogue open. The hashtag is enough. There's a Stafford County group, but we trying to get our initiative basically throughout so we all can be moving in the same direction. So that's who I would like to throw out on this week. The Stafford County Enough group that has now we have members in Texas and all over.
Okay, that's what I'm looking for. I want you to expound on that because just to piggyback, some of the things that we've talked about, trying to build these pipelines and these connections so that we can learn and share what we're learning and share with other cities and other locations that we can build a pipeline of strength and communication throughout the nation. So, like you said, we can be able to support each other. Like I said, when the cameras are off and nobody's there, we have a network there in that community that can support families during these tough times. So I think that's important. And if any listeners out there, if they have anything going on in their communities that they would like to share with us, please feel free to send us an email at www. I'm sorry, not the online. I'm sorry, our email, 2mikes@gmail.com. You can also send us email or information online at www.2mikes.com. We'd like to get that information and be able to share that with our listeners as well.
That's right, and we're doing voter training and things like that. So, and then I know that's your baby there. So we are definitely getting things all aspects of them off the ground.
That's what's up. That's what we need. That is exactly what we need. So moving real quick, I just want to go ahead and jump into Friends is coming up on that time of year where our opinions and more importantly our votes will matter. Understand this is not only on a national level, but also in our local districts. Many of us in the community, we've had enough and feel there's time for change. We would like to hear from you. And like I just said to you all, head over to our Facebook page and IG or Twitter at 2mikes up. Let us know where you're from and share your opinion today. Share any opinions about today's podcast. And like I said, any thoughts or any information that you'd like to go ahead and share with us. At this time, we're going to go ahead and get ready to close. I just want to thank everyone for joining us and listening to the podcast. I want to thank Bernard for, the time that he spent in sharing his story and events that happened in Minneapolis with his dear friend, George Floyd. And again, I say, may he rest in peace.
Yes.
And, that's what I have for at the moment. Lisa, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pass the ball back to you.
I think that's it, bro, because we got a couple of shows coming up. I know we're going to have DJ Coco Brown coming up. So we got some fun things in store for you guys. Just please stay tuned.
Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you next week. Stay safe. Stay blessed. Mike's out.
Mike's out.
I'd like to take a moment to thank our executive producer, N. Cunningham, for working with us on today's podcast. as well as our marketing team led by A. Cunningham and D. Martin. Thank you.